Hi, welcome to 2020 Tasty Treats with GourmetQuilter. I'm Susan Clare, GourmetQuilter, and we're doing a whole series at the moment, 20 parts on the Leftovers Pantry and things that we can use up, basically. So we're up to part 16, so we're doing really well out of the 20, and there are downloadable patterns for each part as well through GourmetQuilter.com. There's more information on the website. So each day we're doing a video and there'll be a download for each day as well. So we're going to have a little look this time. What we've been doing is we've made up a whole lot of things in our pantry. We've got our pantry ready, we've got our drawers labelled, we've got all sorts of things going on with our things that we've used from leftovers from other projects, basically. So I didn't really want to call them scraps. Doesn't mean that they're not scraps, I just want them to be leftovers, because sometimes we've got whole full width pieces and things, so we've been cutting those into strips and other units and things, and we've been then making some units from those. So we've made several different units, and we're going to talk about unit 6 this time. Now, we made that earlier in part 10. So we made a snowball unit. So a snowball is simply a square block with 4 different corners on it. Now, they could be all the same fabric corners on there, or they can all be different. They can be light, they can be dark, they can be any number of things. Snowballs are so much fun. They can be any size. The corners should not meet in the middle, so that it gives that slightly rounded effect when you do things. And the larger the triangles are, the less the rounded effect, because it becomes more sort of diamond shaped. So there's an example of that here. These have got smaller corners on, so it tends to look a little bit more round at a glance than this one here, which has got larger corners on, but still nothing's meeting. They are still snowballs. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about how you might use a snowball today. So I've got some samples up here behind me of simply putting snowballs together. So I've basically got a couple of light based snowballs with darker corners, and then I've got some darker main snowball parts with lighter corners. And you can simply make a whole quilt alternating using all sorts of colours. It can be quite randomly positioned and so much fun. The same thing here, this is the same thing as this, only that we've just got smaller corners on, just to show you. And they can be done in colour combinations. If you've got a whole lot of a couple of colours, like lots of blues and lots of whites, for instance, you can make a nice blue and white one. As you can see here, we can have little ones as well. How cute would a whole range of little ones be? Because I've got the other one to that one here. So you could have lots of little ones if you've got lots of small pieces to use up. It just goes and goes, doesn't it? So in the notes here, I've talked about using them, basically the light and dark, and the different effects that you can get. So this one here would be showing something like this. This one here is showing a little bit more like this with the smaller corners. But this one here is the same thing, but it's just using basically sort of all lights with darker corners, or it might be the 2 colour type combination or things like that. They don't all have to be the same fabric, just a similar range of sort of colour level. So that was simply using the snowball on its own, and then we can get to some other ideas where we're starting to combine things. So if we combine, like in this one here, a snowball with a 9 patch, or this one again with the option of either the light centres or the darker centres. So looking at this one here, if I put in, instead of the darker ones, if I just put a couple of 9 patches instead, so that what we're seeing, we've got the darker corners on the 9 patch, and we'll end up seeing this is going to kind of form a chain as it goes through and things with all these lighter centres. Now they could be a fabric, obviously they'll be a fabric, they could be left as is because it could be a design you like, or you could even go ahead and put some applique on, and this quilt that I've got here shows exactly that. So we've got 9 patches here, we've got a snowball here with bright colours on the corners, and then we've just done an applique on all the snowballs. So that's another option, is to add applique to these, or if you're going to be doing them so that you've got the stronger colour squares, that you've got some nice feature fabrics that you're very happy to be looking at, you could have them obviously with the lighter colours. You're still going to get that sort of chain effect. It's just going to look a little bit different, like it's this one or this one. And then of course it's whether or not you choose to add some applique to it. So that was just an idea using units 9 patches with our snowballs. So some other times we've made other blocks and things as we've been going with some of our other units. With the half square unit, we suggested a little simple star block. And the same thing, that can be alternated with a snowball. Anything that, if you make a snowball with the corners about a third of the size of the actual square, it'll fit any sort of 9-patch type block, and it will end up forming this sort of chain look for you if that's what you were hoping to be able to do. So the same thing, you could have the stronger colours or feature fabrics or something like that in between as well. So that was our idea here, so that we can use something like a little simple star block alternating, and you can just get amazing effects with having them quite, dare I say, scrappy, certainly using leftovers, so that we've got random different fabrics coming through, and they're just quite exciting when you do things like that. And then I came up with another suggestion here, again using another unit. So I'll just pop these down for a second. So we used some rectangles, and we made some very simple 3-part units using some rectangles. And if you were going to have a lighter colour here, you could pop that there so that it matches with a lighter colour there. And if you continue that on down a quilt or across a quilt, you can see that you're starting to get this thin and then widening out and then thinner again. And that would repeat on that side as well if you were to continue adding more blocks like that. So that they're kind of alternating, and it just makes for a really interesting alternative. Again, you can use it plain. You might be a quilter, you might want to do some fancy quilting if you've got lots of light fabrics. So we're talking about that down here on the notes. And of course you can reverse it so that instead of the lighter colour it could be the stronger colours. And I just think it can make some really fun effects. So I just wanted to give you some ideas of things you might do to use your wonderful snowball blocks. Snowballs are so good for so many things, the real ones as well as fabric ones. So that was from the Leftovers Pantry number 16, and I will see you again with from the Leftovers Pantry number 17.